AMD stock closed out the week at $233.54, down about 1.75%, ending a volatile stretch not just for the company but for the entire semiconductor sector. On Friday, markets broadly slid into the red, and AMD followed suit, even though the company is coming off one of its strongest quarters in recent memory. The reaction has left a lot of investors asking the same question. If AMD just delivered solid earnings, beat expectations, and strengthened its AI partnerships, then why has the stock been sliding instead of rallying? And more importantly, with the weekend giving everyone a chance to reset emotionally and mentally, what does next week look like? Is this the moment AMD begins its next leg higher, or is something deeper happening beneath the surface? To understand this, you really need to look at the psychology of the market right now. AMD delivered a very strong quarter, $9.2 billion in revenue, up roughly 36% year-over-year. Gross margins were solid. Data center revenue, the part of the business directly tied to AI compute and cloud infrastructure, grew 22%. And guidance for Q4 came in healthy, with the midpoint sitting above analyst expectations. Under normal conditions, this set of results would send a stock higher. But we're not in normal conditions. We're in a moment where AI expectations have become sky high and the bar for impressing Wall Street is now almost absurdly elevated. The issue isn't that AMD failed. It's that AMD succeeded in all the areas people expected it to succeed in, and the market wanted something even bigger, something explosive. They wanted a surprise acceleration in AI accelerator shipments. They wanted a huge upside revision. They wanted some kind of wow moment that would confirm AMD is breaking into Nvidia's territory faster than expected. When that didn't materialize, the trading algorithms, the short-term funds, and the profit takers stepped in and began selling the news. Another thing weighing on the stock is simple valuation math. AMD has been priced like a future AI heavyweight, not like a traditional chipmaker. When a stock carries a premium built on future expectations, any hint that the ramp might take time, even if the long-term outlook is excellent, can cause pullbacks. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. Investors got the results they expected, but not the acceleration they fantasized about. Now, on top of AMD's own movements, the macro backdrop is playing a major role. Tech stocks across the board were under pressure this week. Concerns about global growth, shifting expectations around interest rates, geopolitical tensions, and weak sessions in the Nasdaq all contributed to broad selling. When the tide is going out, even strong swimmers get pulled back a little. AMD wasn't singled out. It got swept up in the larger move. That being said, here's the real paradox. While AMD's stock took a hit, AMD's story actually got stronger this week. The company is not backtracking on its AI thesis. In fact, the opposite appears to be true. AMD is pushing deeper into AI partnerships, with deals involving OpenAI, Oracle, and several hyperscalers who want second-source suppliers for advanced compute. These deals may not immediately transform quarterly revenue, but they provide legitimacy. They show that AMD is being taken seriously in an industry dominated by Nvidia. And that kind of credibility has long-term implications. What makes this moment particularly intriguing is that AMD is now at an interesting crossroads. On one hand, the stock is pulling back and losing some momentum. On the other hand, the company's strategic position in the AI hardware race has arguably never been better. This sets the stage for a compelling week ahead, one where the question shifts from why is AMD dropping, to has the pullback created a setup for a rebound. If you zoom out, you'll notice a pattern that happens often with high-growth companies. The quarter comes in strong, the stock dips temporarily, and then once the market digests the numbers, the rally begins. It's happened with Apple. It's happened with Tesla. It's happened with Nvidia. And now investors are wondering whether AMD is about to follow the same script. That uncertainty, the tension between what people feel and what they see, is exactly what makes this such an interesting story for next week. The deeper narrative here involves execution. The market wants proof that AMD can scale its AI business. They want to see MI300 accelerators shipping in volume, gaining traction with enterprise customers, and filling large-scale data center orders. They want to see AMD not just participate in AI, but win meaningful share. And this is where the next week becomes important, because analysts, institutions, and everyday investors will be watching closely for anything that indicates acceleration, whether that's new deal commentary, price target upgrades, analysts revising their outlooks, or broader AI market sentiment shifting. Another under-the-surface factor is technical positioning. AMD has sold off from recent highs, but it hasn't broken down structurally. In fact, many traders will look at this price zone, the low 200s, as a potential accumulation range. If volume stabilizes, if the Nasdaq firms up, or if any sort of AI-related headline emerges next week, the stock could easily snap back with a powerful rebound. That's why the weekend is often one of the most important periods. It's when investors breathe, reflect, and begin planning their next moves. So what's the angle that captures all of this in an intriguing way? It goes something like this. AMD delivered the numbers. AMD secured the partnerships. AMD grew the segments that matter. Yet the stock fell anyway. This disconnect between fundamentals and stock performance always signals one of two things: either a deeper, hidden problem, or a rare opportunity. And the next week is going to give us the clues for which one it is. The most compelling storyline heading into Monday is AMD's AI ramp taking shape quietly behind the scenes? Because while the market reacted in the short term, the long-term catalysts actually strengthened. AMD continues gaining validation from major AI players. AMD is moving into more enterprise deals. And AMD is positioning itself to benefit from the next phase of data center spending, which analysts expect to expand significantly in 2026 and beyond. Another angle is to explore whether AMD is in what investors call the proving period. This is the time after a company announces a huge opportunity, like AI acceleration, but before the revenue impact becomes undeniable. These proving periods often bring volatility. But once the inflection point is visible, stocks move dramatically. The question isn't whether AMD is in the AI race. It's whether the AI race is about to show up more clearly in AMD's numbers. There's also something psychological happening here. Investors have been conditioned to expect instant AI results. Companies like Nvidia created the illusion that every AI announcement should translate into explosive revenue immediately. But that's not realistic. AI infrastructure takes time. Orders take time. Ramps take time. And AMD's story is unfolding in stages, not leaps. That's why this upcoming week becomes so interesting. Because the market is now shifting from what did AMD just report to what should AMD report 6 months from now. And that's when forward-thinking investors begin positioning early. Something else worth highlighting is the difference between hype and legitimacy. Hype moves stock prices quickly, but it fades. Legitimacy builds slow but lasts. AMD's partnerships, product launches, roadmap execution, and data center traction are all signs of legitimacy. And while hype stocks often crash, legitimate growth stories tend to consolidate, absorb volatility, and then resume their upward trend. This is the pattern AMD appears to be in right now. So what is the big, intriguing question that traders and investors will be asking themselves when markets open next week? It's this: did AMD's price drop signal weakness, or did it just set the stage for a major comeback? The company's fundamentals say one thing. The short-term price action says another. That tension, that contradiction, is exactly where opportunity often hides. And that's the story worth telling. AMD is entering a critical phase in its AI expansion. The pieces are on the board: earnings strength, partnership growth, data center momentum, expanding credibility, and an industry tailwind that could last for years. What happens next depends on execution. If AMD proves it can scale its AI business, the stock's current pullback will look like a temporary pause before something bigger. If it can't, then the recent weakness could be the beginning of a longer consolidation. Right now, nobody has the full answer, and that's why next week matters. Investors are watching, institutions are recalculating, and the AI narrative is shifting day by day. AMD's path from here could define whether it becomes the clear number 2 in AI hardware, or whether it remains stuck in Nvidia's shadow. Either way, the stage is set. And the next chapter begins Monday.